I think a big question for all of us today is how do we actually empower diversity inclusion professionals working within an organisational culture? I think it's become obvious that many businesses have effectively insourced the role and function of diversity inclusion. So we've hired professionals into our organisational culture. And I think if businesses are going to do that, they have to make sure that leadership at the top has a big strategic vision for what they want their corporates to be, but also what they want their corporates to do. So while the role of a diversity inclusion professional is to advocate, challenge, support, etc., the vision actually should start before we insource. So that's the first thing that I think is really important, because then you have strategic alignment between the wider leadership, HR functions, line managers, etc., and the D&I function. So that's the first thing that is really critical. The second thing is, like with anything in life, without financial and intellectual resources, it's difficult to get anything done. So we need to make sure that the function of inclusion management is financially supported, but it's supported with what we might call kind of emotional and moral support as well. So we've got a body of people within the organisation that wants to do well around this thing and kind of support it and the rest of it. And then we have some kind of structural things around ERGs and all of that. I think the other thing in terms of empowerment, which is critical, we know that where you sit matters. So having a strategic communication channel between the diversity inclusion community, HR, CEO office, etc., is really critical in terms of flow of information, ideas, strategic support, feeling valued, respect, and all of that. What we don't want is having the D&I voice edited out by other organisational power brokers that facilitates the message up to the CEO office. So that's really quite critical actually in terms of where you sit and all of that, because that either creates empowerment or disempowerment. The other thing I think is really important is if you're hiring a professional in, then give them autonomy to do things. It's like any function, whether it's HR, marketing, this, COF office, actually, they're here because they're good at what they do. And so we need D&I colleagues with some level of strategic autonomy as the kind of internal advisors and the rest of it. And then I think the final thing would be about sponsorship. We do know that sponsors play a critical role in terms of physical, mental well-being, but also that kind of emotional support. So all in all, I'd say things like, making sure that the business has a wider vision, making sure we've got the financial support, having a seat at the table, autonomy, and then sponsorship. So these are kind of 5 factors that we would say are the fundamentals in terms of ED&I empowerment.